I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. And this is This Week
in Cruton.
It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at NextLevelD1. Powers, the only question I have for you, I guess we'll talk recruiting afterwards, but the only question I have for you, how was your birthday?
Oh, it was a great day. We celebrated 1,000 episodes, Texas football today. That was the first and foremost on my birthday list. It was awesome to listen to. You know, my favorite guest, I think, looking back, just a guy that I get excited to hear talk every time, Jeff Traylor. I love listening to Jeff Traylor talk about life, football. There were a lot of great guests, but, I mean, he was like a quote machine, I feel like, that day.
He's one of our favorites.
Well, and Powers was on a heater booking guest, too. We talked about that a lot. He did good.
I thought the whole staff did great. I mean, everybody pulled together and got some really good guests.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you said you had ribs on the smoker on Friday. Am I wrong?
Yeah. And I tell you, that was the best ribs I've smoked. I did 2 different styles. I tinted in foil one of the racks of ribs to try to like competition style. And the pull, as they say, the pull was tremendous. But the true highlight was the bacon burnt ends. That was the first time I've smoked bacon burnt ends. And they weren't probably as good as Himes, but they were close. They were really good.
You're a big jerk. Stop talking. He's Greg Powers. We're going to talk a little bit of recruiting. Let's start with our prospect on the rise. This is, of course, presented by our friends at Chicken Express. Let's start with our prospect on the rise. Let's go Klein Forest 2021 running back Ahmonte Watkins. Picked up an in-state offer this week. It was a big one from Aggieland. This is notable because now we did reach the point, and I know this because my Twitter was blowing up. We've now reached the point where these are actual offers now that have been sent out to these 2021 kids. But he is a guy who should be on your radar. This is more than 20 offers, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was his 20th offer overall. But if I'm looking at that list, I put some of the marquee names in the recruiting notebook. You know, Houston, Texas Tech, Arizona, Arkansas, Mississippi State. Those were some of the ones that stood out to me when looking at his offer list. But I think Texas A&M's his most prolific offer when looking at – and I know that those are sometimes arguable points, but to me, as a guy who covers Texas recruiting, an in-state offer from Texas A&M is a pretty big deal. And, of course, Watkins will be playing his first year at Klein Forest after transferring from Riverside Academy in Louisiana, where he was known for his speed. I think he's a 3-time gold medal state champion, twice in the 200 meters and once in the 100 meters before transferring to Texas.
He's a guy certainly to keep an eye on down there in the Klein area. Klein Forest running back Ahmonte Watkins. Let's get to our commit of the week. Our commit of the week, staying in the kind of greater Houston area, going to Conroe Oak Ridge. Their 2021 linebacker Casey Ossai. It was the linebacker MVP of the Next Level Athlete Top 100 showcase down in Houston eons ago, it feels like. But he is committed, and he is heading to the Pac-12 to go to Arizona, pick them over places like North Texas, UTSA, Louisiana, Nevada, etc. If you recognize the Ossai name, that's probably for a reason.
Definitely. His brother Joseph Ossai plays at Texas, one of the best edge defenders, maybe the best edge defender in the state. And then his brother Philip Ossai at Houston Baptist. Arizona was a school that quickly offered after he won that MVP award, and that was his first offer. So very interesting that Coach Sumlin there is able to continue to have strong ties into Texas, and that they were the first to pop on Casey Ossai, and he's rewarded them now with his commitment a few months later.
He's a guy that certainly you're going to need to keep an eye on, and a big get there for Arizona heading west to Pac-12 country. We're talking with Greg Powers, the Next Level Athlete, here on This Week in Recruiting on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at hashtag TF Today. Okay, let's get to our Underclassman of the Week. Our Underclassman of the Week, we're going to Lancaster. This is going to stun you guys, but Lancaster's got some players. And this is a 2022 wide receiver, Phaizon Wilson. And he is a new Texas Longhorns commit, and the Longhorns beat out a variety of big-time offers, including Alabama, including A&M, including Florida. We don't yet have him rated in the 2022 rankings. Is it fair to say he will be rated in the 2022 rankings at some point?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a 6'4", 210-pound wide receiver, and I think the thing that you have to realize at Lancaster is that that's a school that you really have to pay your dues at that position. They have a lot of great talent at the wide receiver position. They had a lot of really good players who went on to play college ball from last year's team, and they're not short of talent even heading into this year. They have Magic Rector and Stephon Johnson, who will also be complementing Phaizon Wilson in that offense. I got to saw a little bit of him last year when they played South Grand Prairie, and being able to watch him in the camp and 7-on-7 circuit heading into that year, he was one of those guys that you were really excited about having the opportunity to watch play, but he didn't necessarily get the amount of reps that I would think that a top prospect would get just because the Tigers were so good. But when I did get to watch him, he was physical, and I really like that about his game.
He's a guy to keep an eye on there, Phaizon Wilson, the wide receiver from Lancaster in the 2022 class. Let's round it all out with our Recruit of the Week. Our Recruit of the Week is a guy who has been on our radar for 15 years, since he was a tiny infant, basically. It's defensive tackle Marcus Burris from Pleasant Grove. He is our Recruit of the Week because he has narrowed down his top 3 from a list of 7 million offers. He is going to choose between Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. Pretty solid top 3. That means that guys are not going that that Alabama, LSU, TCU, Tech are not in the top 3. Burris is interesting because, look, you can watch his film, you can watch him over the past couple of years, and you can see how talented he is, but he's going to miss the 2020 season because of an Achilles injury. I guess, where do you stand now on Marcus Burris? Not only, obviously, people still think he's a pretty substantial part of their future, but at the same time, the Achilles injury is not, that's not like breaking your arm. That's some serious rehab.
Yeah, definitely for a bigger framed player too. I mean, that's something to keep an eye on. But he's talented enough that all these top schools are going to honor the offer that they've extended to him. As a matter of fact, he's rated as the #1 defensive tackle in the class of 2021 in the state of Texas. And it's by a pretty wide margin. The #2 defensive tackle, quick math, 49 spots lower than he is in the DCTF Hot 100. So something has to drastically change for someone to overtake him for that #1 spot. And we'll just have to monitor it. He's not going to have senior tape. He's not going to be able to go out there and show you what he can do to protect his ranking, protect his, he's a Whataburger super team member. We do tops in Texas when we do the DCTF Rising. Will he be in that list? Probably not, because it's more of a review. So we'll see if anybody can challenge him for that #1 defensive tackle spot. And when he does commit, the school's going to get a guy who's played multiple positions. He's athletic and he's big. And I really like his upside. So he's going to get into a college program, and the defensive coordinator there is going to be able to put their figuratively arms around him and teach him how to become a defensive tackle, because he's played tight end and defensive end at Pleasant Grove mostly. He can get after the passer. He's very athletic. So I think his upside is very, very high. So Oklahoma, Texas A&M, whoever gets him is getting a real dude. This dude can play.
He's Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at NextLevelD1 and see his fine rib photos on Twitter. Did you tweet about the ribs?
I did not. I do
have
a personal photo. I have a personal photo of the ribs, but should have did the bacon burn-ins. Those things were magic.
Can I see the personal photo of the ribs?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Work Slack.
We'll do it again next
in
week.
Slack.
Bye.